Welcome to This Explainer. If you're a focused learner looking to understand exactly how the top tier of entrepreneurs are building massive empires entirely on their own, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're dissecting the data-backed playbook of the top 10% of solo-founded startups. We've actually pulled thousands of data points directly from Stripe Atlas to understand exactly what separates the incredible outliers from the rest of the pack.
Okay, let's kick things off with a massive number, 63%. As of Q2 2026, a record-breaking 63% of all new C corporations formed through Stripe Atlas were launched by solo founders. Honestly, we are living in a golden age for the solopreneur, and the barrier to entry has quite literally never been lower. But just because more people are starting companies alone, well, that definitely doesn't mean everyone is succeeding equally.
In fact, we're seeing this stark, rapidly widening wealth gap. Just 4 years ago, the top decile of solo founders made about 34 times the revenue of the median solo founder in their first 6 months. But by 2025, that figure skyrocketed to 61 times. Just let that sink in for a second. The elite top 10% are making 61 times more revenue out of the gate than your average solo founder.
Which brings us to the most important question you got to be asking yourself right now. What separates these breakout companies from the ones that just don't make it? What is that top 10% doing so differently in their first 2 years to generate such absolutely massive, disproportionate returns? Well, to answer that, we extracted a 5-step playbook straight out of the data. We're going to cover building AI-native products, selling globally instantly, the B2B revenue multiplier, aggressive early retention, and finally, the ultimate showdown, solo versus multi-founder teams.
All right, let's jump right into step 1, building AI-native products.
When we say AI native, we're talking about products whose core functionality fundamentally depends on AI models. And wow, the performance gap here is just staggering. The top 10% of solo founders are basically twice as likely as the median founders to build AI-native companies. And by that 2-year mark, these startups are generating almost double the revenue of other solo-founded businesses. And no, it's not just a couple of crazy unicorns throwing off the math. These AI-native startups consistently outpace the pack all the way from the 50th up to the 95th percentile.
Solo founder Mark Liu hit the nail on the head when talking about this shift. He says the next generation won't really be defined by traditional technical pedigrees or these deep coding backgrounds. It's all about speed. These are going to be no-code folks, prioritizing rapid execution and shipping incredibly fast by leveraging AI. It's totally about solving the problem right now rather than sitting around writing perfect code from scratch.
Which leads us perfectly to pillar number 2, selling globally instantly. Look at this gap. It's absolutely wild. The elite breakouts generate 51% of their revenue internationally. Meanwhile, the median founder, a microscopic 2%. What's happening here is that a massive wave of non-US founders are super smartly tapping into the US market incredibly early on. Since the US is usually the highest spending market for software, selling there immediately is just a massive accelerant for growth.
And you know, this early global strategy compounds like crazy over time. By month 24, your average solo founder is maybe selling into just 6 countries. But those top decile breakouts, they've already expanded to an average of 40 different countries. I mean, we're talking about global enterprises from their very first month.
Okay, moving right along to the third strategy, the B2B revenue multiplier. The top solo founders are nearly 30% more likely to completely ignore the consumer market. And the reason is super clear. By month 24, solo founders focused on B2B see a massive 4x revenue multiplier compared to those doing B2C. 4 times the revenue. And hey, if you're thinking, well, sure, that's just because B2B startups raise way more venture capital. Actually, the data proves that completely wrong. This 4x multiple holds completely true even for bootstrapped, entirely self-funded companies.
And this isn't just theory, right? Take Pauline Clavelis, a 4-time solo founder. She pushed her SaaS to 10,000 euros in monthly recurring revenue without dropping a single dime on ads. How'd she do it? She went all in on a highly specific B2B niche, talking to users literally every day and only building the exact features that multiple paying customers actively asked for. She focused entirely on being the absolute best service in a specific B2B vertical instead of just shouting into the void of the consumer market.
Which sets us up perfectly for trait number 4, aggressive early retention.
Because look, acquiring global users is great, but it means literally nothing if they leave. Check out this rapid timeline. The top 10% retain almost 30% of their first month customers right into month 2. The median startups, a measly 8%. The elites are just locking in product market fit so much faster. And get this, by month 6, these elite founders are already beginning to win back customers who churned. That's a full 3 months faster than the average founder.
So what's the secret mechanic behind this incredible early retention? Well, it's not just a killer product, it's the actual business model itself. Elite B2B founders are 26 percentage points more likely to strategically lock in customers early using automated recurring billing. They aren't sitting around crossing their fingers for repeat purchases. No way. They're structuring the entire business around subscriptions from day one.
Pauline has some incredibly sharp advice on this too. She says you've absolutely got to validate with paying users before you overinvest your time or money. Seriously, ask yourself right now, are you launching fast and actually validating your ideas with real money changing hands? Because honestly, chasing perfection is entirely pointless if the customer doesn't even stick around for month 2.
All right, here we go. The ultimate boss battle of the explainer. Section 5, solo versus multi-founder teams. So we definitely know how the elite solo founders operate. But looking broadly at the data, how do they actually stack up against traditional teams? The facts are pretty clear here. While solo founders usually launch faster, by the 2-year mark, top decile multi-founder teams do eventually pull ahead. Specifically, they generate about 53% more revenue than top decile solo founders. And yeah, that holds up even when adjusting for investor funding. 2 heads, generally speaking, eventually outpace 1.
But wait, because here is the craziest twist in all of this data. If we zoom all the way in to the absolute elite, the top 1%, the 99th percentile of self-funded, bootstrapped startups, that entire team advantage basically just evaporates. At this ultra-elite level, the solo folks are practically tying the teams. After 2 whole years, there's only a microscopic 5% gap in revenue between the absolute best solo founders and the absolute best multi-founder teams.
So how is that even physically possible? Fatima Rizwan, a super successful multi-time solo founder, sums it up perfectly. She points out that the very best solo founders are just insanely resourceful and high agency. Sure, they can build and ship on their own, but the real magic is how they systematically extend themselves. They leverage brilliant hires, strategic advisors, and deep founder networks. So even though they hold all the equity, they are never truly operating alone in a vacuum.
Which brings us to our final, vital thought for this explainer. We've walked through the whole playbook, right? AI native execution, instantly going global, honing it on B2B, locking down recurring retention, and relentless networking. The data clearly shows that one single person can rival a whole team if they execute this strategy. So, looking at the road ahead, do you have the high agency resourcefulness to build the next massive breakout solo company?